everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Week 5. We are more than a month done in this season. 4 games on tap for Week 5, all on Saturday, so let's preview all of them, and we'll go on from there. Alright, first game on tap for us. It is going to be a rematch of Week 1. Well, we've got 2 Week 1 rematches, but this will be the first one we talk about. It is a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. As always, the Indoor Football League Network. Stream it, yeah. They need to come up with a slogan because I don't have one either. But anyway, 6:05 p.m. Central Time on the Indoor Football League Network. The Massachusetts Pirates head south to Jacksonville, and this is just a rematch of what happened in Week 1, but we have, dare I say, a better Massachusetts team, than what we saw in their first go-around. Season leaders, I am trusting the stats. Yay. We'll see how well this works. Let's look at our passing leaders, Kenji Bahar and Caleb Barker. Kenji Bahar, 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. Caleb Barker, 361 passing yards, 8 touchdowns to just 3 picks. Your rushing leaders, Bahar leads rushing 92 yards for the Pirates with 8 touchdowns, 4 of those just in their last game. And Jimmy Robinson, 24 carries, 106 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground for him. Receiving leaders, Tio Redding, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Karan Ashley, 114 yards on 3 touchdowns for him. He's got some really big plays to get those yardages. Let's take a look at our injury report. We've got 2 new guys for the Massachusetts Pirates. On the defensive side, Adonai Lewis Jr. and CJ Holmes. Lewis is out short term. Holmes is done for the season. So that's going to lead into our 25-man roster after this and how they have signed some players to make up for the loss in the secondary. Nothing to report for the Sharks. McLean and Marlborough have been there since pretty much the start of the season, so nothing new, which we'll talk about that with Jimmy Robinson's status when we talk about 25-man roster. Let's take a look at our game odds. 78.5 is our over-under for the game, and Jacksonville minus 9.5. They are a huge favorite at home, minus 310 to the money line, plus 250 if you want to choose an upset on the road for the Massachusetts Pirates. Jacksonville 3-0. This is their second home game, and this is the first road trip that Massachusetts has taken this season. We are at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. Again, 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. And as always, Indoor Football League Network. And our head-to-head, again, this is just based on the Indoor Football League since Jacksonville came over last year. But it is 2-1. Massachusetts is favored. Or not favored, but Massachusetts has the head-to-head here, but Jacksonville got their first victory in Week 1, 46-25. So a lot to take in here. Let's go talk 25-man rosters, then we'll look at our bet and our prediction, and then we've got 3 other previews to go after this one. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, and some changes, some not changes. Let's take a look at the Massachusetts side. For the quarterback position, Kenji Bahar is your starter, more than likely. Felix Harper as your backup. Puka Williams most likely carrying the lead at the running back position with Dominic Roberto spelling him. And then all 4 wide receivers played last week: Tio Redding, Isaiah Coulter, Thomas Owens, and Isaac Zico. Offensive line will have an odd man out, whether it's Nick Ford, Jordan McRae, Ryan Johnson, and Yvonne Donaldson. I believe Ford was the odd man out last week. Ryan Johnson, McRae, and Donaldson got the starts. Defensively, they've kind of rotated on the defensive line a little bit. Kewen, it's pronounced differently up there. He's Queen, but I pronounce it Kewen. So Dominic Kewen, Jablonski Green, Guy Thomas, DJ Dale, Terry Beckner Jr., and Afanya Maye. I hope that's how it's pronounced. Your linebacker, they have it a little different on their website. They have Sal Lapoli as a linebacker defensive back, and same thing with Marquise Waters. So we'll see who gets the start at the linebacker position. My hunch is it's Sal Lapoli again. He has been kind of there except for one game, and I think that was when Voshan Joseph started. So your secondary, you will have 5 guys. 2 of them are brand new. Matt Elam, Marquise Waters, and Marcus Floyd are from throughout the season, but they have signed Destin Mack from the Citadel and Ty Smith from Towson. So 2 FCS programs. they get to join, and we'll see how that affects the secondary, because Jacksonville does like to throw the ball. They do like to run the ball as well. It's kind of a balanced offense when it comes to that. Josh Gable is your kicker, and that is your Massachusetts Pirates 25-man roster. Over to the Sharks, starting quarterback Caleb Barker with backup Blaine Espinoza. And running back, this is where it's going to get a little weird, because no injury designation for Jimmy Robinson, but he did hurt his knee last week against Tucson. He did get back into the game, but I will tell you, honestly, I was not looking at how many carries he got, how many yards he ran for, anything like that. It was kind of a defensive game more often than not, so I apologize. I was not looking at, well, he ran 8 more times after he got injured. I wasn't looking. I would like to believe that Robinson starts, though. Tyler King will spell him, and he will actually play. We'll just kind of see if there's any limit to how much Robinson runs. Wide receivers, Karan Ashley, Edward Vander, Jaden Stoshak. They've been there all year. Marcus Rogers has 2, but now he has a number. And mind you, this is the North Florida Ospreys game, where North Florida College does not have any football program, so they are taking over the indoor football league for a night. So I believe Marcus Waters will suit up for that. Offensive line, Eric Harris, Leon Brown, Dominic Jackson, most likely your starters, with Chaz Neal being your backup, your depth piece. He is also numbered 99. Defensively, Kevon Bennett, Chris Rice, Noah Lyles, and RJ Wilkins. Bennett has been your super sub, with Rice, Lyles, and Wilkins being your starters. Ja'Cory Johns got the start last week. We'll see if he gets the start for a second week in a row, or if Hayden Hatcher comes back and gets the start at linebacker. And then Tyrese Ross, Jordan Whitley, John Huggins, and Malik Jones and Corey Kelly round out that secondary, with Malik Fleming being kind of that, he hasn't played a game or suited up yet. Your kicker is Christian Bartley, and that is your 25-man roster for Jacksonville, your 25-man roster for Massachusetts. With that being said, let's go take a look at our bets, our predictions, and we'll move on. All right, it is prediction time. This one's tough, because I do not think that -9.5 is a small number. I think that's a pretty big number, just based on how Massachusetts kind of played and how Jacksonville kind of played last week. I mean, each week is different. I understand that these teams could match up better for Jacksonville, maybe worse for Massachusetts. There are the two new signings in the secondary, where that could be something that Jacksonville exploits. We could see if Jimmy Robinson doesn't play and how that affects Jacksonville's offense. So there's a couple variables that you kind of want to look at here, but what I'm taking a look at here is that over and under. It is over under 78.5. I think Massachusetts wants to score some points. I think this could be a back and forth. And in the very first game, even though it was pretty much a dominant win, it was 46-25. You can call that a blowout. Some can, some can't. I mean, they almost doubled up their score. That's still 71 points. And the over-under in this game is 78.5. And I think Massachusetts has improved from that first week. I do think they can put up more than 25 points in this game. I do think it will be a little bit closer. I do think Jacksonville does take the victory here, but I am taking over 78.5. I could see Massachusetts covering that spread even if Jacksonville pulls out the victory. My prediction in this one, fairly close. It's a one-possession game, 49-42. They kind of go back and forth. That is actually, 91 points? So that's quite a bit more points than what Vegas is expecting. So, again, you're asking both teams to score 40, right? Yeah, you're asking both teams to pretty much score 40 points, or one team score 40, one team score 39, and you hit the over. And I think both teams can. It just kind of comes down to what does Jacksonville's offense want to do? Do they want to hold on to the ball and waste clock? How many 1-yard quarterback sneaks does Kenji Bahar get? I'm kidding. But yeah, it kind of comes down to that. And I do think that both offenses have improved. Both defenses have looked a little bit better. Now, granted, Massachusetts has given up quite a few points on defense, and they've given up quite a few kick return touchdowns, just like they did in the first game against Jacksonville. So if that could bode well again, 2 last week to Devin Hafford and Fishers, is there another one in the cards here? I didn't think there was last week. There you have it. So I do think this game goes over. I do think both offenses play fairly well. And there could be some penalties that move the ball in certain directions that help the offense. We just kind of see. I'm not going to say that the refs help it, but again, I think 78 is a pretty low total with how these offenses kind of go. And that might be playing into how Jacksonville played last week, but maybe Tucson's got a better defense than what Massachusetts has right now. So over 78.5, 49-42, Jacksonville takes the victory. There's our bet. There's our prediction. Let's move on with preview number 2. All right, game number 2, 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. We have the Bay Area Panthers traveling to Fishers, Indiana in a Dixie Wooten revenge game, baby. Let's take a look at our season leaders. Josh Jones and Jaya Wright both lead their teams in rushing and passing. Looking at the passing stats first, I do not believe the Indoor Football League website when they say Josh Jones has thrown 81 passes in 3 games. That's a lot of passing, and I know for a fact he has not done that. So I'm going to call BS on that, but either way, I'm going to write it down. 28 of 81, my God. 420 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. Thanks, AI. Jaya Wright, 233 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Josh Jones, 121 yards, but see, that's where it's wrong. I know for a fact Josh Jones has scored rushing touchdowns, and it doesn't say that he had any on that Indoor Football League website. You phony liars. You phony liars. I remember him diving into the end zone. God, that's what I get for trusting the stats. Jaya Wright, 237 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground. Again, just, God damn it. I hate it. I hate giving misinformation and stuff like that. Maybe it's not updated, but 81 passing attempts. Josh Tomas, 8 catches, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. JT Stokes, 10 catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I have no reason to believe that Fisher's stuff is inaccurate. Their stuff looks pretty accurate. It's just Bay Area. What can you do? Injury report, nothing to really report for either side. Nothing new for Bay Area, nothing new for Fishers as of just a few weeks ago. So, moving over to our betting odds, over-under of 79.5, with Fishers being a home underdog plus 2.5. Plus money, plus 120 for Fishers at home, so $10 bet gets you $12, or minus 142 for Bay Area on the road as the favorite. We are in the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana. 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff again on the Indoor Football League Network. Just want to reiterate that any chance I can. And our head-to-head matchup for both teams. 0-0. These two teams have never met, and if you are new to the indoor football game, the head coach of the Fishers Freight is Dixie Wooten. He was the co-head coach, offensive coordinator, multiple seasons at Bay Area as of last season and a few seasons ago. So he's been at Bay Area for a couple of years before being hired to Fishers. So a little bit of a revenge game when it comes to stuff like this. Wooten knows Bay Area very well, the players that they have re-signed, that defense, everything along those lines. Bay Area pretty much knows Dixie Wooten's offense. It's kind of a battle of the Titans when it comes to this stuff. Both teams are 2-1. This is Fishers' second home game. And this is Bay Area's first road game, so they get to take on their former coordinator. Let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction for this game, and we got 2 more previews after that. All right, 25-man rosters popping up here. Let's take a look at the Bay Area Panthers. Not much has changed, if anything, for Bay Area. Josh Jones, most likely your starting quarterback, with Liam Thompson backing him up. And then you're probably going to see all 5 of these guys at some point. Josh Tomas, Tosin Oyekanmi, Tyrese Chambers, Trayvon Alexander, and RZ McCorker. And they will kind of cycle through the running back position. Sometimes you'll see Thomas back there. I think I've seen Oyekanmi back there. Tyrese Chambers has gone back there, I think, a couple of times. Even RZ McCorker is saddled up right next to Josh Jones for a couple of plays. If I'm not mistaken, could be completely wrong. But yeah, that's kind of what I've seen. For the offensive line, I don't think I've seen Delvin Salter get in. Antonio Derry was just signed last week, but for the most part, it is Coulter, Walker, and Navarro, barring any changes, so we'll kind of go from there. Defensively, it's been Tavon Grant, Jonathan Ross, and Morris Joseph getting the starts on the defensive line. William Martin got in last game. Jack Daly has been as the super sub for the first 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, so we'll see if anything changes there. Defense linebacker, that's BJ Tafalele. No changes there. Secondary, Trey Meadows, Tyler Watson, Joe Fouché, and Tyrese Wright, I believe, were your starters or have been your starters for most of the season. Frankie West kind of being that super sub. Shamar Moreland is weird. He was listed as a running back last week. He even played, I think, the first series, and then I don't know if I ever really saw him after that. I wasn't looking too hard, but for the most part, he is that linebacker or that defensive back position. Your kicker is Axel Perez, and he unleashed some drop kicks, and we'll talk about that in our bet prediction, so we'll see how well that goes. Over to Fishers. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. I think Jaya Wright is going to be your starter, but Keegan Shoemaker did get in against Massachusetts last week, played a couple of series, tried to get Fishers back into it, tied the game up, ultimately ended up losing on a game-winning field goal. John Lewis has been the only running back to suit up. I don't know if anything changes or not, and we'll just kind of go from there. Your wide receivers have been JT Stokes, Shavarius Smith, and Jordan Kress, with Isaiah Cox and Jalen Carter kind of being either a super sub or getting in there, sparingly. Offensive line has been really consistent. AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Jeremy Cooper, I believe they've started all 3 games. Noah Batiglieri's off of injured reserve as of last week. We'll see if he draws in at all. Defensive line, it has been Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, and then kind of take your pick. Robert Horsey has started a game or 2. Isaiah Reed has started a game or 2. Actually, Reed started 2 games. Horsey has started 1. So we'll see if there's anything that changes, if Reed gets another start, or if they just kind of cycle those out. Tamar Hart is your linebacker. And then your secondary, Aaron Jackson, Devin Hafford, Sean Steele, Kareem Golden. I know I'm going out of order here, but I'm trying to remember who all started. Jaden Rowe, AJ Felton. I mean, you only have 4 guys that can start. One's a super sub, and one doesn't really play too much. But I do think that they had all 6, if I'm not mistaken. Well, no. Either way, they will have 4 guys playing. 1 guy normally as your sub. 1 guy might not suit up. We'll see how that goes. Your kicker is Victor Leventrant. He has been all around the indoor football league and other indoor arena leagues as well. Most notably, if I remember correctly, he has been with San Diego. My memory is escaping me because I know he's been around for a little bit. I can't remember the other teams he's been with, but I know he's been with San Diego. People are probably yelling at the screen right now if they know it, but yeah, I know he's been with San Diego. He might have been somewhere else if I'm not mistaken. But with that is our 25-man rosters for Fishers, our 25-man rosters for Bay Area. So let's go check out our bet, our prediction, and we're halfway through our 4-game previews. All right, it is bet and prediction time. This one, it's a little tough. It's a little tough because the question becomes, how does Fishers respond from their first loss, and what momentum does Bay Area have going on the road for the first time? So Bay Area's first loss of the season was their home opener, season opener against San Antonio, but since then they've looked really good against San Diego, and they looked really good against Northern Arizona. Fishers on a last-second field goal, they had multiple chances to win it, or at least get back into it. They tied the game late, got a 2-point conversion, but they're 2-1 as well. So my bet for this one, it's just within my range. Minus 142 for Bay Area. I do think they are more experienced. I do think they are the more complete team. Obviously, they know Dixie Wooten in and out, how his offense goes. We'll see how the defense goes. And I think Bay Area just wants to take control of the ball. They want to take control of the ball, take control of the clock, do what they do, and go from there. I don't know. If anything, minus 2.5. I would also take that. You'll see my prediction in a second, but that is the golden number if you want to win by a field goal or more. I'll just spoil it now. 41-38 is my prediction here. I think Bay Area does get a close victory. I think Fishers is very defensive. That's kind of high scoring, but we're 79 points. That's right at that over/under, and I don't know. I think Bay Area just has a little bit more oomph in them right now. I know they are on the road for the first time. I know that crowd is going to be ruckus. I know Fishers wants to atone for the loss that they have, but I just think Bay Area's defense is a little bit better than Fishers' defense, and I think if you can shut down that that running game, if you can shut down that running game of Fisher's, the passing game's all right, but how short is Jaya Wright's leash? That's the other question I want to ask. Well, how short is that leash? What does the kicking game look like? I know Leventritt is a veteran, but he has never kicked in Fisher's before. I don't know if a different arena means a different environment. I'm not sure, but overall, I do think Bay Area has just a more complete roster. They've looked way better in the last 2 weeks than they did against San Antonio, and I just think that they are kind of clicking right now. Tyrese Chambers looks really freaking good. Josh Jones running the ball really well. Their running game, whether it's been Josh Tomas on, the fly sweeps or the toss outs or whatever, that running game has looked good. The passing game has looked good. And my God, Joe Fouché with a pick six. The return game looks all right. I just think Bay Area is more complete in this one. That being said, they did need 2 kick return touchdowns to stay in the game against Massachusetts. I do not think you're going to have that here. I think Bay Area takes it. So that's what I have. Minus 142 for Bay Area. 41-38. Panthers take this one on the road and go to 3-1. Let's go take a look at our 3rd out of 4 previews for this episode. All right. Preview number 3, and we are jumping ahead an hour. It is 7:05 p.m. for our kickoff instead of 6. We are in Tulsa, as San Antonio is returning the favor. In the very first week of the season, Tulsa went to San Antonio. Now we're flipping it, reversing it, as Missy Elliott would say. We've got the 1-2 Gunslingers versus the 1-2 Tulsa Oilers. These two teams met in week 1. It was an upset. That is Tulsa's only win on the year. We'll see if there's a little bit of revenge exacted for the Gunslingers, and let's just kind of piece it together. Our season leaders, Malik Henry, 475 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks. Take it with a grain of salt. These are some AI-generated stats. TJ Edwards, 311 yards, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, taking care of the football. Keyshawn Harper, 75 yards rushing on 2 touchdowns, and TJ Edwards, 182 yards. He is your leading rusher and passer. 5 touchdowns on the ground for him. Receiving yards, Glenn Gibbons, 134 yards, 6 touchdowns. Showed out a little bit against Arizona, even though they lost. And Faison McClurge, 18 catches, 185 yards, 6 touchdowns for him. Our injury report. Ellison Jordan has been added to the injured list for San Antonio. That is a huge hit to that defensive line. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. Nothing new to really report for the Oilers since Bundage has gone out for the season. So really just one addition when it comes to the injuries. Our game odds, an over-under of 81.5 and a minus 2.5, minus 2.5 for Tulsa at home. So Tulsa favored by just a smidge under a field goal at home. This is their home opener. They've had 3 straight on the road, and we'll see how it goes. Minus 142 for them on the money line, plus 120 for San Antonio on the road. We are at the BOK Center in lovely, beautiful Tulsa, Oklahoma. I love that place. 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. And our head-to-head 1-1. This will be the 3rd meeting between the two teams, the 2nd of 3 meetings in this season. They met once in 2024, but their last meeting, 28-20 in week 1, Tulsa takes the victory. So again, we'll see if there's any revenge exacted, or if Tulsa takes a 2-1 series lead and goes back-to-back as we head towards the 3rd and final frame later on throughout 2025. With that being said, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, and we will go on with our final preview after this one. All right, so let's talk 25-man rosters, San Antonio and Tulsa, as it pops up over my face. Let's start with the away side first, as we do with San Antonio. Malik Henry, Guy Myers, nothing really changes at the quarterback position. Malik Henry most likely going to be your starter. At the running back position, kind of the same thing. Keyshawn Harper, your starter. CJ Odom, most likely your backup. For the wide receivers, one change here. Jalen Robinson has been added. Bailey Edwards has been released. But for the most part, Gibbons, Rashad, Upshaw, and Murray are your most likely candidates to be put in there. Callie Rashad, great return men. Gibbons and Naquan Murray have been really good in the passing game. On the offensive line, more of the same here. Burrell, Stallworth, Galvin, and LaColby Tucker rounded out. And I think what was it the last game? I think it's Stallworth, Galvin, and Tucker. Those are kind of your mainstays right there. Burrell's gotten in a little bit. On the defensive side of the ball, though, this is where things have a little bit of a couple changes. Defensive line, with the injuries to Ellison Jordan and Ulrich Jones, Charles Gilbert is added, but Austin Collier, Warren Thomas, they will be on the defensive line. I have Charles Gilbert, like I just said. In the transactions page on the Indoor Football League website, it said Gilbert Charles. I Googled it. I couldn't find a Gilbert Charles, but I found a Charles Gilbert who went to Trinity College in San Antonio, Texas. If that's not him, I don't know what to say, but whether it's Charles Gilbert or Gilbert Charles, he is your defensive lineman. At the linebacker position, Hassan Black and Eric Rasco, which means Jordan Jones has been released. He got suspended for 2 unsportsmanlikes, or ejected, excuse me. He hasn't been suspended, but he got ejected for 2 unsportsmanlikes, and he was shown the door. So we'll see if he lands somewhere or in a different league or whatever the case could be. On the secondary, nothing changes there. Clifton Duck, Christoph Page, Jalen Phelps, Kyle Myers, and Donyai Jackson. It rounds it out. You've got 5 guys there. So overall, that entire defense will probably make the trip to Tulsa because you need a little bit of depth on that defensive line. They don't have anyone else. And then you don't really have anyone except an extra defensive back. So we'll see how that goes. And I know there could be extra transactions that take place after I record this. I didn't get to it, so I apologize. Your kicker is Tyler Hudel. And then over to Tulsa, TJ Edwards, most likely your starting quarterback. Hassan Rogers, the do-it-all kind of Rudy Johnson, Swiss Army knife, running the ball, catching the ball, whatever he can do. I think he's even been on special teams returning kicks, if I'm not mistaken. Your wide receiving core, Max Novak, Tyrone Howell, Sheldon Juju Augustine, and Jeremy Neal, Cole Blackman, and Faison McClurge. Now, I had Faison McClurge in the preview. I've heard he could be back in the UFL. I am not entirely sure. I saw that on one YouTube comment on my video. We'll just kind of see. I didn't see anything that he was moved up. We'll just kind of see what happens if he suits up in this game. Offensive line for Tulsa, Patrick Barrett, Zach Branner, and Kerry Reynolds. On the defensive side, Rudy Ngoni, Jacarius Smith, Esias Carpenter, and Trey Smalls. So again, you have one extra piece right there. I believe it has been either Jacarius Smith or Esias Carpenter. I think Carpenter's kind of been that odd man out. At the linebacker spot, Marquez Bembry with the start. Dylan Petway will maybe suit up. He doesn't have a number yet. And then for the secondary, Taylor Hawkins, Ramon Morris, Kentrell Pierce, Isaiah Smith, Katron Allen, Trey Harvey, and Jarius Grayson. So again, adding Jarius Grayson, maybe that means that there's a player or two who can't make the trip or is injured and they don't want to put him on short-term injured reserve. I'm not sure, but kind of go from there. If Jarius Grayson suits up, if he doesn't, it's kind of how we take it. Your kicker for Tulsa is Rio Ramirez, and there you have it, your 25-man roster for Tulsa, your 25-man roster for San Antonio, and that is what we have as of right now. So with that, let's go take a look at our bet, our prediction, and we'll move on with our final preview. Okay, so let's talk bet. This one, I know it's going to bite me in the ass. I know it is. Over 81.5. The reason why, one team likes to run the ball, one team likes to throw the ball. There have been some issues on San Antonio's defense, and, well, Tulsa's defense took a poop against Green Bay not too long ago, and ultimately, I think that's where we're going to find ourselves, is one team's going to run all over another, and one team might be throwing all over another, and again, 81.5, you're really just asking both teams to score 42 points, or even 41 points. So you're asking for, 12 touchdowns? That's not that many. And I think both teams can do that. You saw what San Antonio was able to do in backdoor cover against Arizona. They put up, 55 points or something close to it. And then, of course, the overtime thriller that was Tulsa and Green Bay, where Tulsa had chances. They just couldn't close it out. I like an over in this one. I think the over might be low, and I know I'm going to eat those words because the first time these teams met, 28-20, the over did not hit. That was only 48 points, man. So I don't know. I do kind of find it weird that Tulsa is also a 2.5 point favorite at home. I think San Antonio, and the way that they kind of went toe to toe a little bit with Arizona, I don't know if you can use that as an accurate measuring stick, but for all intents and purposes, I think San Antonio looks a little bit better than Tulsa right now. Now, Tulsa did have that overtime thriller against Green Bay. They've played against Fishers, and again, some of these games that have kind of gotten away from them a little bit, but I don't know, man. That offense looks good. Can the defense step up? Calvin Bundage being a loss. Is that linebacker position shorn up with Marquez Bembry? Is that defensive line? Can they put pressure on Malik Henry now that he's seen them, in the past in week one? So a little bit of some thought process kind of going through. But like I said, I like the over until I don't. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself out of it, but over 81.5 is what I have. My prediction, 48-45. I have Tulsa winning this one. I do think San Antonio is the better team. I do. But we are at the BOK Center. Tulsa's going home after 3 straight road games. San Antonio with kind of, I want to say a back-breaking loss, but they did lose against Arizona. They have to hit the road again, so go from San Antonio out to Arizona, back to San Antonio, up to Tulsa. Could the travel be something like that? I'm not sure. Sometimes it phases teams, sometimes it doesn't. So for that, maybe Vegas knows something, and that could be the prediction that I'm having. Maybe Vegas knows something I don't know. So I've got 48-45, Tulsa winning it. They do cover the spread by half the point. It's close, man, but I do like the over in this one because that gives you 93. That definitely beats the over there. So I do think both these teams are going to score points. I think that's where we have it. So mid-40s for both teams, you get that over. So with that being said, let's go check out our final preview. We'll get on out of here. All right, final preview for Saturday in Week 5. We've got an Arizona battle. No, not the Rattlers, but the other two. Winless, too, mind you. We've got the 0-2 Tucson Sugar Schools traveling to Prescott Valley to take on the 0-2 Northern Arizona Wranglers. It is an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff where, say it with me now, the Indoor Football League Network. Yeah, stream it here, get every game, and then pay more for the playoffs. Why? Because screw you. Anyway, season leaders, Tucson. I don't know. They traded for a quarterback and signed another one, so they don't really have a leader in yardage when it comes to quarterback. I put Larry Tripp Harrington here because, well, you got to put someone here, and it's either him or Jorge Reyna, or George Reyna, however you want to pronounce it. I put Harrington here. I think he's a more mobile quarterback, not to say Reyna isn't, but in Tucson, Arizona, blurred lines and ownership, Harrington coming from Arizona, yeah, you see. So I think Harrington gets the start. CJ Fowler, he is your leading rusher and passer for Northern Arizona, 195 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. He is your leading rusher, as I just mentioned, 112 yards with 1 touchdown. And again, take these with a grain of salt. I'm going off the Indoor Football League website, so we'll see if they're accurate. Rushing leader and receiving leader for Tucson, Devontae Sapp Lynch, 22 carries for 75 yards, and then 3 receptions, 46 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, your receiving leader for Northern Arizona, Marvin Kinsey, 9 catches, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, weirdly enough, your receiving leaders are your running backs for both teams. So, what does that kind of tell you? You need some wide receivers to step up here. Injury report for both sides. It's still a straight-up mash unit for Tucson. They have added 3 more players to their injury report. Braden Oakley, Cody Bullig, and John McMullen are all added from just a couple days ago. And then for Northern Arizona, they do get a player off, but Arlen Bruce is added to it. So another wide receiver to add along with Jadakiss Bonds for the Wranglers. So again, not that much for Northern Arizona, but quite a bit. And there's more season injured reserve for Tucson. I just ran out of room. Like, there's still Byron Jarrett, there's still Cortez Eatman. There might be one more I might be missing, but again, just a lot of players injured for Tucson. Looking at our betting odds, it is over under of 80.5 and minus 3.5 for Northern Arizona at home. minus 148 for the Wranglers, and then plus 124 for Tucson if you want to take a flyer on them as an away upset. We are at the Finlay Toyota Center in Prescott Valley, Arizona. Again, 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. And our head-to-head series, Northern Arizona leads it 8-4, which I didn't think it'd be that lopsided, but it is. And our last meeting was actually week 11 of 2024, Northern Arizona winning a one-possession game 60-53. So there you have it for all of that. Let's go take a look at our rosters, bet prediction, and we will get on out of here. All right, let's take a look at 25-man rosters for both teams as they pop up over my face. For the away side, we have new quarterbacks, and we actually have two quarterbacks to talk about instead of your usual one. This will be the third straight game of a different quarterback for Tucson, and they used quite a bit of quarterbacks last year as well, so the revolving door of quarterback play. Trip Harrington and Jorge Reyna. Again, if he's pronounced George, let me know, but I'm going to call him Jorge because it sounds cooler. Trip Harrington, Jorge Reyna are your quarterbacks. Reyna coming over from San Antonio, former Vegas Nighthawks quarterback, and I know he's been with a few other teams as well. Trip Harrington coming over from Arizona as that three quarterback, not tandem because that's two, but the three quarterback battle kind of was the odd man out, but he did get into a game against Northern Arizona where he did catch some passes and run the ball, if I'm not mistaken. So if he is the starter, he does have some intel on how Northern Arizona kind of goes about it. Devontae Sapp-Lynch and Jamist Williams are your running backs. Williams is off of the short-term injured reserve. Your wide receivers, Jerome Buckner, Drew Dixon, Alfonso Taylor, Kevin Adams. Now, Alfonso Taylor, is that the Alfonso Taylor from Arizona State? I think I might have mentioned this in the last game. I'm not sure, but we'll see. It said he was a defensive back at Arizona State. It would make sense being in the state of Arizona, so we'll just kind of go from there. Offensive line, Krikor Kostanian, Dallas Raines, Neomanta Decor, Darius James is off a short-term injured reserve, and Jermaine Donaldson round out that offensive line. Raines, Decor are kind of your starters, and Kostanian, I believe, did play in a game or did start a game, so we'll see if there's more of that. Darius James is a former Frisco Fighter from a couple seasons ago, so he does have Indoor Football League experience. On the defensive side, with John McMullen out, Niles Gaddy, Trey Henry, DeJymin Brooks, and Jalen Stewart. Trey Henry was kind of your reserve last week, so we'll see if he does slot into that starting role. Linebacker Jaquez Jackson, and then your secondary Tariq Bracy, Brian Murray, Jalen Perkins, Gabe Amigatcher, and Kendricks Gladney. Amigatcher is your super sub in that secondary for the last couple of games. We'll see if he slots in as a starter, or if it's Bracy, Murray, Perkins, and Gladney are all kind of your same four starters. Your kicker is Kevin Macias. And now for the Northern Arizona Wranglers, Christian Arambide. That's how it's pronounced. I almost pronounced it the way I wanted to. Arambide. That sounds cooler, doesn't it? Anyway, Arambide and CJ Fowler are your quarterbacks. Fowler has started the last few games. I think they'll keep him as the starter for now. Nolan Susel still is not suited up for a game. It runs through Marvin Kinsey. The wide receivers, Deshaun Stoudemire, Jamal Couch, Kobe Smith, David Elder. And they did sign, I believe, former Tucson Sugar Skull Marlon Cook. He was with Tucson, if I'm not mistaken, during training camp and stuff like that, one of the cut casualties. So again, maybe a little strategic play right there. Atua Tassi, Chris Simon, Jonas Coleman, and Raul Esperance round out the offensive line, and we'll see how that kind of goes. Chris Simon, I believe, is the odd man out. Coleman, Esperance, and Atua Tassi are your starters. For the defense, Darius Johnson, Karan Bolden, Devin Thomas, and Mason Newton are the defensive line. Chizi Amunakwe. There we go. I'm able to pronounce it now. Fode Jallo and Kalen Hicks round out the linebacker core. I believe Amunakwe was able to go down to the defensive line, if I'm not mistaken, in their last game. Your secondary, Bakembe Carney, Kieran Page, Malik Sanye, and Edward McClendon. Those are pretty much going to be your four starters. We'll see if there's any linebacker that drops back into the secondary. Your kicker is Brendan Fisher. And there you have it. Your 25-man roster for Northern Arizona. Your 25-man roster for the Tucson Sugar Skulls. With that, let's go take a look at our bet, our prediction, and we will mosey on out of here. All right. Bet and prediction time. And I have to talk myself into one of these, don't I? So when all else fails, why not try and make some money? Plus 124 Tucson on the road. I will give you my reasoning why. Tucson looked a little lost against Arizona. Now, granted, it was the very first game of the season. They scored 28 points. And then against Jacksonville, they looked more competent. At one point, they led 21-20 into the fourth quarter, and eventually Jacksonville scored their touchdown, the 2-point conversion to eventually win the game, but Tucson did have a chance to at least try and tie it before they ended up throwing an interception to lose it. For Northern Arizona, they looked good in the first half against Fishers at home, and then they just kind of had Fishers pull away from them. And then they looked like absolute doo-doo against Bay Area. And I think that the trend for me is Tucson, it looks a little bit better. Northern Arizona kind of looks the same, dare I say, even a little bit worse. So I think I'm going to take the team that might be ascending a little bit here with Tucson. I do think, too, having Trip Harrington, having Jorge Reyna builds a little bit more confidence in that quarterback position. Not to say that they aren't, they shouldn't be starters or anything like that. Reyna did start some games for Vegas. Harrington started a couple of games when TJ Edwards was out when he was with Frisco. They looked very good. I know Reyna has started other places too. I believe he was with Duke City, if I'm not mistaken. And was he with San Diego? He was somewhere else. I cannot remember where. He was the backup to Snead last year, wasn't he? Or not last year, but a few years ago with Arizona. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent, but yeah, I mean, I take that veteranship that, you've got Devontae Sapp-Lynch. The wide receivers seem to be coming into their own a little bit. I like Drew Dixon. It sucks about Braden Oakley, but, and again, they've lost Brian Smith too, so the wide receiving core has been hit a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, they do have a decent wide receiving core. We'll see what they're capable of. The offensive line looks all right. You lose John McMullen on the defensive line, but for all intents and purposes, you still have kind of your starters right there. You bring in Trey Henry. We'll see. Excuse me. Jaquez Jackson is a mainstay, and your secondary is still there. For Northern Arizona, I think it's still a team kind of learning in the process. The offense kind of goes through David Elder, kind of goes through Marvin Kinsey. CJ Fowler can run the ball. So it's tough for me, but I do think Tucson, dare I say, is a more complete team, if that makes sense. I like the completion at the quarterback position. Like, you went from Amon Caldwell going 7 of 24 to now bringing in guys that have fully started games in the indoor football league. Caldwell played with San Antonio, and I'm sure he's got indoor and arena experience elsewhere, but for all intents and purposes, the level of the game, or like the speed of the game and stuff like that, playing against teams, with what Frisco has done with Harrington, what Reyna's done with Vegas and others, I do like what Tucson has. I think Northern Arizona is capable of winning this game. I do. I'm more sold on Tucson. And again, this is fully me just trying to talk myself into this. I don't really have a clear head when it comes to that. I don't know. I'm not surprised who wins this game. I'll be brutally honest with you. So I've got to talk myself into a side here. For me, I do think Northern Arizona can win this game if they just run it with Kinsey, and if they're able to make him kind of that star on the offense, and if that defense is able to get some pressure and ruin the chemistry like what Jacksonville did with Caldwell last week. But what I have here, 38-35, Tucson with the victory. Again, not shocked if Northern Arizona wins, but I got to talk myself into someone here, and I just do not have a good gauge on either team yet. Maybe after this week, we'll kind of get some identity, or maybe an identity crisis. Who knows? But there you have it. Plus 124 for Tucson, 38-35. I think it's a medium scoring game. We'll see if the defenses show out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But there you have it. Let's go wrap everything up and get out of here. And there you have it. There is our Week 5 preview. All 4 games kicking off within just a couple of hours of each other. So if you really wish you had that multi-screen view like the Indoor Football Network promised, maybe one day. But anyway, I'm going to sign off here, guys. Love and appreciate every single one of you taking the time to watch this, having the patience to wait almost an entire week for me to get recaps out and stuff like that. And hey, I might have to do what I did this week, because a little insider note here. I use the website Canva for all of my graphics and videos and stuff like that. And well, you can only have 50 audio tracks. Did not know that. So when I was in the middle of doing the recap for last Saturday, I reached that limit fairly quick, like not even halfway through the Iowa and Quad City game. So then I had to do every recap separately. So maybe from here on out, I just do every recap separately. I have no idea. But anyway, yeah, we'll see how that goes in the bridge we cross when we get there. But until then, I'm going to sign off here, guys. As I said, love and appreciate every single one of you. If you want to, like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. I love interacting and having the feedback and everything like that, and just talking ball with all you guys. That's the whole premise of this thing, is to talk IFL football and kind of just see what people's thoughts are and everything along those lines. So with that being said, for the last time, I'm going to take off here, guys. I will see you in the next video. We'll have some recaps, we'll have some winners, some losers, we'll recap it all. So with that, then, see you.